My 26/F mom died a couple days ago. My boyfriend, 31/M, is refusing to go to the funeral or let my daughter go with me because it's religious. Like the title says, I just lost my mom a couple of days ago from ovarian cancer. I'm devastated right now, and my boyfriend, we've been together for a year and a half, isn't helping me at all. My mom and I weren't on good terms before her death because of my boyfriend. John and my mom never got along because he's a deep-set atheist and my mom is very religious. Major issues popped up once I got pregnant and had my daughter. My mom pressed for me to have my baby baptized into the church, which I wanted to do, but John was dead set against it. He convinced me that baptizing her and indoctrinating her was a bad choice, and that we should leave it to her to choose when she was old enough. I agreed. My mom didn't take this well at all, and after many angry and hurt arguments, she cut off contact with me. Not having my mom with me during my pregnancy or my baby's birth took a big emotional toll on me, but John insisted it was for the best, and he didn't want my mom near my daughter at all, and that my mom was evil for hurting me. At the time I was angry, so I agreed. I found out my mom was sick with ovarian cancer a month ago when she called me and wanted to talk. I was horrified, and all the bullshit kind of just fell away. I tried to make the best of my time with her, brought my daughter to meet her grandma, and tried to build good memories with her. I'm happy to say we reconciled, and my mom and I made our peace with each other before she died. I don't want to trash my boyfriend, but John has been a pain in the fudging ass since I found out my mom was sick. He said she deserved it, but quickly backed down when he saw how angry that made me. He refused to go with me to visit or help care for my mom. He didn't even really want to listen to me talk about how happy I was to reconnect with my mom. All he did was remind me that my mom hurt me and I should have no contact with her, and she didn't deserve for me to speak to her. I told him that my mom isn't perfect, but my mom also raised me by herself, and that she was my rock for many years, and he should respect that. He said nothing outside, telling me there was no value in talking to her. Now we're planning the funeral. I asked John to go with me, and he refused instantly. He said he hated my mom, that she was a cunt to our family, and that he wasn't going to church ever, and it was rude and insensitive of me to ask. When I said I was taking my daughter, he had the never to actually tell me that I was not under any circumstances taking her. I have been through an emotional roller coaster this past week. I lost my mom after we finally made up. My boyfriend has been stupidly unsupportive, and now he's refusing to let me take my child to her grandmother's funeral and refusing to come to at least support me. My daughter is the one thing that brings me comfort, and I want her with me. Is that so unreasonable? It seems like the more I push, the more he digs his heels in, and I just can't take it anymore. I don't know what to do. His attitude towards this entire thing is breaking my heart on top of my mom's death. TLDR, I lost my mom after we finally made up. My boyfriend has been stupidly unsupportive, and now he's refusing to let me take my child to her grandmother's funeral and refusing to come to at least support me. Relevant comments. Commenter, how does he plan on stopping you from taking her to the service? OP, he can't. I've decided that I'm taking her unless he tries to physically stop me, and even then good luck. Commenter, your boyfriend is being completely irrational. He has no say in whether you go to the funeral or whether you bring your daughter. He's making your loss about him. Hell, he made your relationship with your mother about him. Your pregnancy and birth was full of stress from his bullshit drama he started with your mother. Go to the funeral. Bring your daughter. You deserve to say goodbye to your mother, no matter how tumultuous your relationship had been. I'm sorry for your loss. OP, I don't know if it's because I'm so upset, but I'm starting to see that too. It's always been about him. He's never accepted my wants and instead insisted on a compromise that favored him. I've had enough. OP on her mom. My mom actually cut me off when I said that we decided not to baptize my daughter. I tried for weeks and months to reach out to her and even texted and called when the baby arrived and got no response. I really wish I had tried harder, like gone to the house and knocked, or even just tried to run into her and talk to her. I was really hurt by what my mom did, and I let John talk me into thinking that my mom really was this mean, vindictive person for cutting me out of her life. Trust me when I say I regret it with all my heart now. Update 1. Thanks everyone that sent me condolences about my mom. It's been really hard these past several days, but I've been hanging in there okay. I tried being reasonable to John about he wanted to handle things. I even told him, like one poster here suggested, that he didn't have to go to the service, but could wait in the lobby with my daughter while the service was ongoing, then she could spend time with my family after the service. But he again shot it down. He would be able to hear the service, and that was a violation of his beliefs, and asking to compromise on those beliefs was unconscionable and unfair to our daughter. I told him I had had it. This is the icing on a very large cake. I told John that as of this week, I wanted our bank accounts separated. He made us joint accounts to make sure we split everything equally to be fair, despite me making more. and that I'd be staying with my brother after the funeral while we figured out what to do, whether that was a total breakup or counseling. It was up to him. He said counseling was for the weak-minded, and that we were staying together despite my empty threats, and there was no way in fudge he was letting me take his money. He became very loud and in my face during this conversation, so I just let him throw his tantrum until he took my silence as agreement. I took my daughter with me to the viewing with no problems. John and I barely spoke that day, which was fine by me, but it hit the fan the next day. When I got up in the morning to get myself ready and get my daughter ready, I discovered that he had the motherfudging gall to park his CR directly behind mine, blocking me into the driveway. I had no way to get to the funeral in my own car. John always drives to work, but for reasons I can only image were to get back at me, decided to take the metro and took the baby carriage and bottles and my pump with him. My brother and I have our differences, granted. In fact, we haven't talked much since my mom and I were estranged. We started talking again after she was sick, but he'll forever be a saint to me for what he did. I called him crying, and he and my sister-in-law arrived within 20 minutes. SL calmed me down and helped me get my daughter ready, and they brought along spare bottles, a carrier, and a breast pump. Thanks to them, I was able to go my mom's funeral in comfort, and my daughter was an angel during the service. They calmed me down and everything went perfectly, and even though I was a mess most of the day, having my daughter with me, and my SIL, and even my brother with me to lean on gave me peace on the inside. I've made up my mind not to tolerate John's insane and controlling behavior anymore. He had a litany of excuses for doing what he did. He even tried to claim his car had problems, and I don't want to hear any of them. I never wanted to be a single mom. I always wanted to raise my baby within a family. But I've decided that going alone is so much better than doing it with this man, who thought nothing of trying to kick me while I was down. My brother's arranged for me to talk to a friend of his that specializes in family law this week, and we're taking it from there. I still feel so guilty for what happened with my mom. I miss her so much. I hope from here on out I can make her proud of me, despite my mistakes. TLDR, boyfriend flew off the deep end and tried to block me into my driveway to stop me from going to my mom's funeral with my daughter. My brother and SIL came to the rescue. We're now separated and I intend to move forward on my own. Relevant comments. Commenter. I am so sorry you are going through this right now, and I'm so glad you have the support of a family behind you. Your daughter is far better off without someone like this as a role model for what she should look for in life, and I'm glad you're getting out of this situation. I would call the bank and see what you can do about the joint account before he tries something like cleaning it out and putting it somewhere else as well. I'm so sorry and I wish you all the best. OP. I still have my personal account, so I called the bank and set up a meeting for tomorrow. I'm documenting that I've told John not to touch any of the money in the account until everything is worked out. I agree. He's so toxic. John has good points and I do love him, but I can't forgive the way he went out of his way to spite me during this whole thing. That's not love at all. And to another commenter, I'm definitely withdrawing the amount of my last check from the account first thing tomorrow. And lastly, about the money. For everyone's that worried, he didn't get his hands on my money. I went straight to the bank and got the amount of my last check out of the account. Phew. Commenter. I just read your first post and this post. First off, I'm sorry for the loss of your mother. Secondly, I am glad you are rid of that man. He's as toxic as they come. And thirdly, I'm glad you have a supporting family who came through for you. Anyways, your ex sounds downright horrible. In your first post, you said he called your mother a cunt and said she deserved it. I would have left he then and there. No one talks like that about family, not even if you have differences with said family, especially if they have passed away. Any amazing qualities he had were all a charade, and he showed you his true self. I'm proud of the fact that you realize that even though your daughter may not know her father, she is going to be better off. Take care of yourself and your daughter, OP. OP. I was so shocked when he said it I didn't know how to react. It literally didn't hit me until about the time I'd made up my mind to post here. He liked to act like my mom was abusive to him because of her religion, but his main grief with her was that she asked him to lead Grace once, and he reacted badly. Thank you for your kind words. I plan to take good care of us both. 3. Commenter. Had he ever have any violent action, punching a wall, etc.? I think everyone here is underestimating the risk that this man can have violent reactions in the future. OP. Not while punching, but he'd slam things like the cabinets or the dishwasher or doors, or he'd rattle a chair or something. Nothing crazy violent, just weird. Update 2. Hi everyone. Things have been a whirlwind since my last post, and I honestly don't even know where to start. First, thank you to everyone who offered advice and kind words. I really needed that reassurance. Let me give you a breakdown of where things stand because, wow, John managed to outdo himself in ways I didn't think possible. After I withdrew my paycheck from the joint account, John absolutely lost it. When I got home from the bank, he was already there pacing around the living room, demanding to know why there was less money in our account. I calmly told him that I took out my earnings, as I didn't trust him not to use it for God knows what after his little stunt with the car. He said I was financially betraying him and accused me of being brainwashed by my family. Yes, folks, brainwashed. By the same family he said I shouldn't even talk to. I packed a small bag for my daughter and me while he kept ranting. When I told him we'd be staying with my brother for a while, he actually laughed in my face and said, "You're not going anywhere." At that point, my heart dropped. I didn't feel safe, especially with my daughter in the house. So I texted my brother to let him know I was on my way. John didn't try to stop me physically, but he did follow me out the door, screaming every insult he could think of, some so vile, I won't even repeat them here. Let's just say it's clear he was trying to make me feel like absolute garbage as a person and a mother. When I got to my brother's house, I broke down. I mean, ugly cry. My SIL held me while my brother started making calls, one to his family lawyer friend, and another to a locksmith he knows. By the next morning, I'd spoken to the lawyer and started taking steps to protect myself. Apparently, John parking his car to trap me was technically illegal. Who knew? So we filed a police report. It felt dramatic, but at this point, I'm leaving no stone unturned. Fast forward a few days, and John started sending me the weirdest texts. At first, it was the usual guilt trip stuff like, "How could you do this to our family?" And, "I thought you were different." Then it escalated to threats like, "If you don't come home, don't expect me to sit back quietly." That's when I decided to block him. It wasn't until he sent a picture of himself sitting in front of my brother's house that I realized I needed a restraining order. My SIL saw it first and called my brother, who came back home immediately. John left before the cops got there, but the incident gave me all the push I needed to go nuclear. Now for the good news. My brother's lawyer friend has been a godsend. We're working on separating everything legally, finances, custody arrangements, you name it. The lawyer said I should file for emergency custody, so John can't try to pull any stunts with our daughter, and I've already started the paperwork. Emotionally, it's been a roller coaster. I'm grieving my mom, mourning the family I thought I was building with John, and simultaneously trying to find my footing as a single mom. It's a lot, but every day, I feel a little stronger. My daughter and I are safe, and honestly, that's what matters most. As for John, he's quiet now, but I don't trust it. The man has always been full of surprises, and not the good kind. I'm staying vigilant, and my family is rallying around me like never before. My brother's even talking about me moving into their guest house temporarily while I figure out my next steps. It's not ideal, but at least I won't be alone. To everyone following this saga, thank you again. Your advice and support mean the world to me. I'll keep you updated as things unfold, but for now, wish me luck. Something tells me this isn't over yet. TLDR. John went off the rails after I withdrew my paycheck, followed me to my brother's house, and tried to intimidate me. I'm filing for custody and a restraining order while staying safe with my family. Things are messy, but I'm getting through it. Update 3. Hey everyone. I'm back with another update. I wish I could say things have settled down, but surprise! John found a way to make everything even worse. I guess I should have expected that, but honestly, it's still exhausting. After filing for emergency custody, I thought I'd bought myself a little breathing room. My lawyer said we'd done everything by the book, documenting his behavior, filing the police report, and securing temporary orders to keep him from taking my daughter. For a hot second, I thought, okay, maybe I'll finally get some peace. Then the court papers arrived. John filed for full custody. Full custody. The man who had been absolutely fine letting me handle 99% of our daughter's care, diapers, feedings, doctor's appointments, everything, is now claiming I'm an unfit mother and that he should have full custody. His reasoning? My emotional instability due to my mom's death and my erratic behavior, aka taking my daughter to my mom's funeral. Oh, and the cherry on top? He cited me staying at my brother's house as proof that I'm incapable of providing a stable environment. I won't lie, I saw red when I read through his filing. The absolute nerve of this man, who tried to trap me in my driveway like a maniac to paint me as unstable. Thankfully, my lawyer was prepared for this. We've already started compiling evidence to counter his claims, including testimony from my brother and SIL about John's erratic behavior and the police report from when he showed up at their house uninvited. My lawyer says his case is weak at best, but the fact that he's going this far just shows how desperate he is to regain control. But wait, it gets worse. The other day, I found out from a mutual acquaintance that John's been trashing me on social media. I've mostly stayed offline for my sanity, but apparently, he's been posting these long, dramatic rants about how I'm alienating him from his daughter, and how he's fighting for his rights as a father. He's even thrown in some conspiracy-level nonsense about my brother, manipulating me for financial reasons. Like, what financial reasons? My brother's doing fine, thank you very much. It's honestly laughable, but seeing people comment things like, "Stay strong, bro," and "mothers like that are toxic," made my blood boil. It's infuriating how easily people buy into his victim act. Thankfully, my SIL had the best idea ever. Start documenting everything. I've started saving his posts, taking screenshots of every unhinged message he sends, and logging every interaction we've had since this all began. The goal isn't just to protect myself in court, it's also to remind myself why I left. Every time I feel even a twinge of doubt or guilt, I look at those screenshots and think, nope, you made the right call. On the personal front, things have been complicated. Living with my brother has been a blessing, but it's also weird to rely on other people so much. I'm used to being independent, and now I'm juggling a baby, a court case, and the emotional fallout of leaving John. Some days, I feel like I'm drowning, but then my daughter will giggle at something silly, or my SIL will swoop in with a cup of tea and a hug, and I remember why I'm doing this. The best moment this week? I found an old photo of my mom holding me as a baby. It's been years since I've seen it was tucked into one of the boxes my brother brought over from my mom's house. Seeing her face, so full of love, gave me this strange sense of peace. It's like she's still here, rooting for me to get through this. I miss her so much, but I feel like I'm finally honoring her by standing up for myself and my daughter. As for John, I've got no illusions that he'll stop anytime soon. The man thrives on drama, and I'm sure he's cooking up his next stunt as we speak. But I'm done letting him control my life. I'm moving forward, no matter how messy or difficult it gets. I'll keep you posted as things develop, but for now, I'm just taking it one day at a time. Thank you again to everyone who's been following this nightmare, and cheering me on it means more than I can say. TLDR, John filed for full custody, started trashing me on social media, and continues to be a massive thorn in my side. I'm fighting back with a great lawyer, my family's support, and a mountain of receipts. This isn't over, but I'm not backing down. Update 4. Well, everyone, this is it. The final chapter of this saga. Buckle up, because the last few weeks have been nothing short of wild, but I can finally say I'm at peace, well, mostly. Here's how everything went down. After John filed for full custody, we had our first court hearing. I walked into that courtroom feeling like my heart was going to leap out of my chest, but my lawyer was a rock. John, on the other hand, came in looking smug, wearing a suit that was clearly trying too hard to say, "I'm a responsible father." He even brought along a couple of his friends for support, which was ironic considering these are the same guys he used to ditch me for during our daughter's newborn stage. The hearing started with both sides presenting their cases. John painted me as emotionally unstable, irresponsible, and a puppet of my brother's evil influence. His lawyer brought up everything: my grieving process, moving in with my brother, even the fact that I'd taken some time off work to focus on my daughter. It was infuriating to hear him twist the truth, but my lawyer was ready. When it was my turn, we laid it all out. The police report about him blocking me in the driveway, screenshots of his unhinged texts, and the creepy photo of him sitting outside my brother's house. My lawyer even brought up his social media rants, which the judge did not appreciate. But the piece to resistance? My brother took the stand and calmly testified about John's behavior, how he had been controlling, manipulative, and downright cruel throughout my mom's passing and the funeral drama. He kept his composure like a pro while John squirmed in his seat. The judge didn't make a ruling that day, but you could tell John's case was crumbling. His behavior wasn't just bad, it was downright unhinged. My lawyer said we had an excellent chance of maintaining custody, and I left that courtroom feeling a spark of hope for the first time in months. Then came the bombshell. A few days after the hearing, I got a call from John's landlord. Turns out, John had been evicted. Apparently, while he was busy trying to destroy my life, he'd completely stopped paying rent. He blamed me, of course, claiming I'd ruined him financially by withdrawing my paycheck, LOL, as if he wasn't spending most of his money on himself anyway. When I asked the landlord why he was calling me, he said John had listed me as an emergency contact and now they wanted me to deal with the mess he'd left behind, including unpaid utility bills and damage to the apartment. Let me tell you, hanging up on that call was the most satisfying thing I've done in years. The eviction was the final nail in John's coffin. By the time our second hearing rolled around, he was a mess. He tried to argue that his financial troubles were all my fault, but the judge wasn't having it. Instead, the judge gave me sole legal and physical custody of my daughter, with John allowed only supervised visitation until he could prove he was stable. I don't think I've ever cried harder than I did in that moment, not because I won, but because I felt like I could finally breathe. John didn't take it well. He stormed out of the courtroom, yelling about how the system was rigged and how I'd brainwashed everyone against him. He hasn't shown up for a single visitation since, and honestly, I'm not surprised. I think he cared more about controlling me than he ever did about being a father. As for me, I'm rebuilding. I found a small apartment for my daughter and me, and my brother and SIL helped me move in last weekend. It's not fancy, but it's ours, and every day I feel more like myself. My daughter is thriving. She's happy, healthy, and learning new things every day. She's my rock, my reason for pushing through all this madness. I still think about my mom a lot. Some days, I feel the weight of everything I lost, not just her, but the years we could have had if I'd stood up to John sooner. But I've decided not to dwell on the past. My mom always said, you can't go back, but you can always move forward. So that's what I'm doing, moving forward, one step at a time. To everyone who's followed this roller coaster, thank you. Your advice, support, and encouragement got me through some of the darkest days of my life. I don't know what the future holds, but I know one thing for sure. John no longer has any power over me. And that, my friends, is the most freeing feeling in the world. TLDR, the custody case is over. I got sole custody of my daughter, and John is a wreck. He's out of my life, and I'm finally rebuilding with the support of my family. Moving forward feels incredible.